One was a Roman general who killed 1 million human beings to conquer a country that did not want to be conquered. The other was an English queen who burned 300 Protestants alive, trying to save a country that did not want to be saved. Both were sovereigns. Both committed mass killing in the name of higher purpose. Both have names that school children memorize 15 centuries after one of them died, and 300 years after the other. Both move us closer to the most dangerous human being who has ever lived. Only one of them advances. Tonight, Gaius Julius Caesar against Queen Mary I of England. The dictator against the Queen. Round of 16, Match 5. Julius Caesar arrives in this round as the wild-card champion of episode 23, where he defeated Caligula by every conceivable measure and locked his place in the round of 16. Mary I arrives as the wild-card champion of episode 21, where she defeated Jesse James because her institutional power gave her a ceiling no outlaw could match. Tonight, two sovereigns separated by 16 centuries. One question: whose throne caused more damage to humanity? Welcome back to Evil vs. Evil, Monsters of History. The Tournament of Champions continues. This is episode 29. Born in the Subura district of Rome, in the year 100 before the Common Era, Gaius Julius Caesar entered the world the son of an old but politically minor patrician family that claimed descent from the goddess Venus. The Julii had pedigree, but no recent power. His father died suddenly when Caesar was 16. He came of age in a Rome tearing itself apart. The dictator Sulla had recently massacred his political enemies. Caesar, as the nephew of Sulla's old rival Marius, was on the proscription lists by the age of 19. He fled the city. He spent his early adulthood in Asia Minor, soldiering, and famously being captured by Cilician pirates. He told them, as they held him for ransom, that he would return after his release and crucify them all. They laughed. He raised a navy after his release, hunted them down, and crucified them all. He climbed the Roman political ladder one office at a time. Consul in 59 before the Common Era at the legal minimum age of 40. He formed the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus, the three richest and most powerful men in the Republic. They divided the Roman world between them. And in 58 before the Common Era, Caesar took the proconsulship of Gaul. What followed was the Gallic Wars, the most ruthlessly efficient war of conquest in classical antiquity. Over 8 years, Caesar's legions subdued every Celtic tribe in modern France, Belgium, Switzerland, and parts of the Netherlands. By his own count, written down with strange pride in his commentaries, he killed 1 million Gauls and enslaved 1 million more. The entire population of Gaul, by some modern estimates, dropped by a third. He invaded Britain twice. He crossed the Rhine twice. He fundamentally redrew the map of Western Europe. In 49 before the Common Era, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with 1 legion and started a civil war. The next 4 years saw him chase his former ally Pompey across the Mediterranean, defeat him at Pharsalus, follow him to Egypt, sleep with Cleopatra, install her as Queen of Egypt, and crush the last Republican armies in North Africa and Spain. He returned to Rome and made himself dictator for life. He reformed the calendar. He had himself declared a god in his own lifetime. On the Ides of March, the 15th of March in 44 before the Common Era, 60 Roman senators, including his closest friend Marcus Brutus, surrounded him at the foot of the statue of Pompey and stabbed him 23 times. But his death did not end his empire. It accelerated it. His adopted nephew Octavian, later called Augustus, became the first emperor of Rome and inaugurated a political order that dominated the Mediterranean world for the next 500 years. That was Julius Caesar, the general who killed Gaul and gave Rome its emperors. Born in the Palace of Placentia, in Greenwich, England, in 1516, Mary Tudor was the only surviving legitimate child of King Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. She was raised believing she would one day be Queen of England, until the age of 17, when her father divorced her mother, declared her illegitimate, and threw her out of the line of succession to marry Anne Boleyn. Mary spent the next 20 years in a state of internal exile. She was forbidden to see her dying mother. She was forced to serve in the household of her half-sister Elizabeth, the infant daughter of the woman who had replaced her mother. She held on to two things: her Catholic faith and her conviction that the crown of England was rightfully hers. When her father died in 1547, the throne went first to her sickly younger half-brother, Edward VI, who died at 15. The Protestant nobility then tried to install Lady Jane Grey, a teenage cousin, as queen, in order to keep England Protestant. Mary, with the support of the English people, raised an army and rode into London to claim her birthright. Lady Jane Grey was beheaded. Mary I became the first queen regnant in English history. She married Philip II, the future king of Spain. She revived the medieval heresy laws. Between 1555 and 1558, 283 English men and women were burned alive at the stake for refusing to renounce their Protestant faith. The condemned ranged from elderly bishops to teenage apprentices to a blind woman to a pregnant woman who gave birth inside the flames. The infant, after being saved by bystanders, was thrown back into the fire on the orders of the local sheriff. She died on November 17, 1558, at the age of 42, possibly of uterine or ovarian cancer. Her half-sister Elizabeth, the daughter of Anne Boleyn, became queen the same day and restored Protestantism. Within months of Mary's death, she was being called Bloody Mary in popular songs. That was Mary I, the queen who tried to save her country's soul and burned it instead. Now let us put these two sovereigns side by side in the round of 16. Category 1. Body count. Caesar's Gallic Wars killed 1 million people and enslaved another million. His civil wars killed hundreds of thousands of additional Romans, Egyptians, and North Africans. Mary's reign killed 283 Protestants by burning, plus several hundred more in famine and rebellion linked to her policies. The edge is Caesar, by 4 orders of magnitude. Category 2. Reach of authority. Caesar's authority extended from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the Egyptian desert. He commanded 30 Roman legions and dozens of allied kingdoms. Marius' authority extended across England, Wales, and Ireland, a population of approximately 3 million. The edge is Caesar. Category 3. Method of killing. Caesar killed in war. He used regular military force, siege weapons, mass enslavement, and conventional military atrocity. Mary killed in court. Each victim was tried, condemned, marched to the stake, and burned in front of a crowd. The edge in industrial scale is Caesar. The edge in intimate ceremonial cruelty is Mary. Category 4. Capacity for greater damage. This is the tournament category. Caesar was assassinated at the absolute peak of his power, days away from launching a massive military campaign against the Parthian Empire that could have extended Roman control to Persia and beyond. Given another decade, he could have built the largest empire in human history at that point. Mary died young, at 42, in the middle of trying to produce an heir who would have continued her Catholic restoration. Had she produced that heir with Philip of Spain, England remains Catholic. The Spanish Armada never sails against a Protestant queen because there is no Protestant queen. The British Empire that would eventually rule a quarter of the world looks completely different, and the religious history of every English-speaking country on Earth is rewritten. The edge in unrealized capacity is genuinely close. Caesar's would have been military. Mary's would have been civilizational. The edge, narrowly, is Caesar. Category 5. Long-term legacy. Caesar left behind the Roman Empire itself, a legal system, a calendar still used by 1 billion people, and a name that became the word for emperor in dozens of languages. Mary left behind a nickname used in children's mirror games and the failed last gasp of English Catholicism. The edge is Caesar, by a planet. So the categories split 5-0 in favor of Caesar. But categories do not capture everything. Here is the wild card. What if Mary had been born in 100 before the Common Era? Given a Roman patrician upbringing and a path to the consulship, she would have been Cornelia, the mother of the Gracchi, the perfect Roman matron, conservative, pious, devout. She would not have conquered Gaul. She would have produced sons who tried to, and probably failed. Now, what if Caesar had been born in 1516 as Henry VIII's son? He would have conquered France, Scotland, and Ireland. He would have ended the Protestant Reformation in Britain by force. He would have outlived his sister Mary by decades, and the British Empire would have followed 2 centuries earlier than it actually did. Each sovereign was perfectly calibrated to a different scale of power. Caesar's scale was always going to be larger. The verdict. Julius Caesar advances. Mary I is eliminated from the bracket. The decision is not close. Caesar killed 1 million people in 8 years. Mary killed 283 over 4. Caesar redrew the map of Europe. Mary lost the religious war her own husband was fighting elsewhere. In a tournament designed to find the most dangerous human being who has ever lived, the general who built the Western world from the bones of 1 million Celts beats the queen who burned 300 religious dissenters in her own back garden every single time. But here is the part that should disturb you. Caesar is a hero. His statues stand in capitals across Europe. His name is one of the most positively associated political figures in classical history, despite a body count that puts him on a list with Hitler and Stalin. Mary is a children's mirror game. The conqueror who killed 1 million was civilized. The queen who killed 300 was a monster. Scale, once again, becomes its own kind of camouflage. Caesar was the dictator. Mary was the queen. Julius Caesar moves on to the quarterfinals. Mary I is eliminated from the Tournament of Champions. Next episode, Vladimir Lenin against H.E.H. Holmes, the revolutionary who built the first totalitarian state, against the architect who built a hotel designed to swallow people. Round of 16, match 6.